one day before the curtain falls on 2025 in this part of the globe. Throughout the year, Dateline 360 went beyond headlines, probing incidents, examining systems and interrogating policies designed to transform lives and strengthen the Nigerian economy. In this special edition, we retrace those steps, not just to remember, but to understand, to connect the dots between the decisions and real-life impact as we journey through Nigeria's 2025 memory lane. But before we proceed, how was your Christmas? Warm? Reflective? Splendid, I hope. Welcome to the final edition of Dateline 360 for the year 2025. I am Momso Damien Dati. Nigeria has set a target for achieving food security and ending hunger by 2030. At the heart of this strategy lies meteorology and science of weather prediction, guiding farmers on when, where, and how to harvest efficiently. At the start of the year 2025 farming season, Dateline 360 examined rainfall predictions released by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, and how timely climate information could make the difference between surplus and scarcity.
The effect of climate change, which is threatening food security, needs the adaptation of modern techniques to survive in the agricultural sector. With the release of its prediction for year 2025, NIMET notes that there is a risk of flooding in the southern part of the country, which calls for urgent attention. In the southern part of the country, rainfall is expected to last between 250 to 290 days, with cessation between November and December 2025. On its part, the Oyo State government has begun the dredging of rivers prone to flooding across the state.
They should try on their farm to know, number one, the topography of their farm. The topography of the farm tells them where flooding can easily happen on the farm and where flooding cannot happen. It will also help them, that information will help them to know when to use irrigation and when not to use irrigation. And at the same time, it tells them the variants or the cultivar, the species of plants they should be planting. There are some that will tolerate higher rainfall, there are some that will not tolerate higher rainfall, there are some that will tolerate low rainfall. So they should look into that.
The forecast highlighting early, normal, and delayed rainforest onset in different regions. This will affect planting and harvesting schedules. What should farmers focus on due to the variation in this year's rainy season forecast?
As a farmer, you don't depend on the natural flow or natural distribution of rainfall if you actually want to be in agribusiness. By the time we are having a reduction or seizure in rainfall, then you have to do what you have to put into use your irrigation system so that you continue the supply of the required water quantity and other available or other needed nutrient to your crop. That is in time of cessation or when there is inconsistency in rainfall.
Should provide plowing tractors for farmers at lower prices, and the chemicals we are using, even the seedlings.
A lot of farmers are actually losing crops year in, year out, probably because of lack of knowledge. Some local farmers, they can't do anything about it. But at this time, we encourage people, if you can, irrigate your farm. If you cannot, properly study the rain prediction and plant accordingly.
The prediction of NIMET following a fallout of the effect of climate change on the earth is changing the raining patterns in most parts of the world, thereby creating water scarcity and flooding in some countries. This sometimes leads to changes in temperature and has altered precipitation patterns affecting crop growth, livestock and agricultural productivities. This means that farmers need to always update themselves with the changing trends in the climatic condition of the country. Lokman Hassan for Dateline 360.
In 2025 also, tax reform bills became law following the presidential assent by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But before the assent, Ignatius Nko broke down some parts of bill's content, educating Nigerians on what it means for households, businesses, and national revenue.
Nigeria's tax system has undergone substantial transformations since its independence, molded by colonial legacies, fluctuating economies, and various reform initiatives. Yet, persistent challenges such as weak enforcement, tax evasion, revenue leakages, overlapping levies, the use of outdated manual system for tax administration continue to hamper progress. The journey began with the Income Tax Management Act of 1961, followed by the introduction of value-added tax in 1993. However, poor administration and over-reliance on oil revenues stifled the impact of these measures. From the year 2000, the call for harmonized tax laws grew louder, aimed at boosting revenue and attracting investment.
A number of laws have, and many more are being, looked into, all with a view to bring the worrisome aspects, or areas of concern for address.
Fast forward to 2023, when the federal government unveiled four groundbreaking tax reform bills. The Joint Revenue Board Bill seeks to establish a board, a tax appeal tribunal, and the Office of the Tax Ombudsman to harmonize and settle disputes arising from revenue administration in Nigeria. The Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill will unify tax agencies and curb revenue leakages, while the Nigeria Tax Administration Bill proposes to introduce technology into the administration and operation of taxation. The Nigeria Tax Bill is set to modernize tax administration and improve compliance.
For far too long, our tax system has been riddled with inefficiencies.
A major feature of the Nigerian Tax Bill is the phased VAT increase, which will rise from the present 7.5% to 10% by 2025 and up to 15% by 2030.
Where these products are consumed and where these consumable items are produced, that is the main crux of the matter. And therefore, a lot of people felt there's no justice, because those who consume are actually the ones who are supposed to have more say, who are supposed to have more percentage in terms of vatable things.
These bills received serious criticisms until the Nigerian Governors Forum and the National Assembly made consultations and took a position.
The president conceded some of his position, and we equally conceded some of our position and reached a stage of equilibrium.
Essential items like food, medical supplies, electricity, and transportation will remain VAT-free. This approach is expected to ease the financial burden on low-income earners. The bill also proposes replacing the Federal Inland Revenue Service with the Nigerian Revenue Service, a unified body that will oversee all national taxes, including royalties and import duties. Individuals earning 800,000 or less annually will be exempted from income tax, offering relief to millions. The four bills having gone past second reading in both chambers of the National Assembly, the Committees on Finance convened public hearings where stakeholders agreed on the need for the reforms, but organizations like the Nigeria Customs Service, Academic Staff Union of Universities, Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, Supreme Council for Sharia, and others argued on specific clauses, including the introduction of tax agents, increase in VAT, provisions on inheritance, and the gradual phase-out of third fund.
Should encourage collaboration, integration of operations between customs and the tax authority.
Issue of tax agent was raised. It may have impact on the charter of the institute.
In the bill, supply or supplies throughout the bill should be replaced with consumption and consumptions.
Nobody will come from anywhere to come and develop Nigeria. We need to have economic policy that encourage local development.
The Nigeria Tax Bill proposes that in 2025 and 2026, Third Fund will receive 50% of development levies. 66% in 2027 and 2029, and will cease to receive further funding by 2030. In 2025 and 2026, NITDA will receive 20% and will not receive any further funding from 2027, while NASENI will receive 5% in 2025 and 2026 and will not receive any further funding from 2027. NELFund is to receive 25% in 2025 and 2026, 33% in 2027 and 2029. By 2030, NELFund will receive 100% of all the development levies. The regional coloration that greeted the introduction of these bills appears to be evaporating. The National Assembly believes that these bills will significantly promote both local and foreign investment.
By streamlining tax laws, improving administration, and enhancing revenue collection.
We shall do it with the fear of God, and we are going to give Nigeria the desired law, legislation that will guide our tax collection.
While this reform promises to improve revenue collection, create wealth, and encourage compliance, public trust remains key for its effectiveness. And it is this legitimacy that the National Assembly is trying to garner for these bills. Ignatius Nkwon for Dateline 360.
Dark clouds descended on the nation at the beginning of 2025 and towards the end of the year as tanker explosions claimed lives across some states. What began as road accidents turned catastrophic when residents, driven by desperation, rushed to scoop spilled fuel, often unaware that death was only seconds away. Dateline 360 investigated the root causes, asked the hard questions. Why do people gamble with their lives for fuel? And what must be done to prevent the communities from experiencing such grief?
Fuel tanker explosions in Nigeria is becoming a regular happening as more incidences followed that of Abuja town, which dominated the news wave and recorded highest casualties that was unprecedented in the country's recent history. The level of casualties had overwhelmed the health facilities around, which necessitated the transfer of many of the victims to neighboring states. When Dateline 360 visited Rashid Shakoni Hospital in Dutse, only 3 of the victims remain on admission, while others continue to visit the hospital from home.
We received a lot of patients from there with severe degrees of burns. We have done a lot to see they have been resuscitated and taken care of, although we have lost quite a few.
The victims and their families are yet to recover from the trauma of the devastating tanker incident.
I went out to offer help, but this is my condition. I suffered so much, it is beyond imagination.
What is more disturbing is the defiant culture of fuel scooping that continue to consume many lives whenever such incidents occur. It is not clear those who comes out scooping fuel are doing it out of ignorance or sheer greed for economic gains.
It is the same type of problem that you quantify. Somebody will enter a tunnel will collapse, killing about 30, 40 people in the course of digging out gold. But still, 1 hour or 2 after, you see some people still making the same effort. So that tell you how the people inside the world doesn't value our lives.
To address these challenges, stakeholders have recommended a multifaceted approach to address the menace.
I would like to tell the owners of vehicles that they should make sure that the driver they employ to drive tanker should be the driver that is supposed to drive the tanker. Because sometimes you find out that the kind of driver's license the driver is holding is not for tanker, but maybe other commercial vehicles. So it is very important to make sure that the right driver, that's tanker driver, is driving the tanker itself.
We at local government level, after having that incident, we have taken 2 measures. Trying to buy stone, maybe rough stone or gravels, to mix it off so we're able to peel off the fault source to avoid the future occurrence. Number 2, we try to make a standardization programs.
So the National Orientation Agency is seriously going
nooks and crannies of the country, sensitizing and educating the general public that they should desist. They should run away from the scenes, and if at all they want to help, there are designated institutions and organizations that are trained and they are professional to handle this kind of emergencies.
Wherever there is danger, like explosion, fuel tanker that fall down, whether there is fire or no fire, people should keep a distance.
It's hopeful the recommendations will change the narrative for a better and safer future. In Dutse, Awal Muhammad Kazaure, Dateline 360.
There is a saying, a healthy population is the true wealth of a nation. Nigeria targets to have at least one functional primary healthcare center equipped according to World Health Organization's standards in every ward in each local government across the country. As the country races towards universal health coverage by 2030, Dateline 360 turns the spotlight on the current number of primary healthcare centers. State of these facilities, especially in rural and hard-to-reach areas, and policy direction in meeting the goal. Oluseyi Adeagbo undertook that critical assignment.
In Nigeria, there are estimated 30,000 primary healthcare facilities. However, according to the World Health Organization (WHO), only about 25% of these facilities possesses more than a quarter of the minimum required equipment. Even more concerning is that just about 20% of the PHC centers are equipped to provide basic emergency obstetric care. The WHO considers PHC as the most efficient and cost-effective path to achieving universal health coverage. It's a perspective shared by many Nigerians, including Cynthia Anthony, who after relocating to the Federal Capital Territory believes that her pregnancy will now be better managed at a nearby PHC facility.
At the time they noticed my child was not properly stable in the womb, I think, or I was expecting, they should be able to inform me, but nothing. They just told me it's malaria, and although I lost the child.
Our experience follows a belief that revitalizing PHC must remain a top priority for health sector stakeholders in Nigeria. Globally, evidence shows that investment in PHC leads to improved equity and access, enhanced health system performance, greater accountability, and better health outcomes. Recognizing this, the Nigerian government is implementing initiatives to strengthen PHC across the country. A key goal is to ensure every PHC center is adequately staffed and equipped to provide round-the-clock essential health services to communities.
We have now directly, revitalized about 340 or so PHCs across the country. Many of that have been completed. Many of that are still in process. And also working with the states and partners in all, another 500. So we have about 862 primary health centers that between when we started and now, they have moved from being substandard to what we call level 2. In terms of the ones that are being worked on as well, both by us directly, by some of our partners, but also by the states and local governments, is another 2,419 or so, almost 2,000, over 2,400. So when you put all of that together, we're saying well over 3,000 PHCs by the end of 2025.
The Basic Healthcare Provision Fund, BHCPF, a strategic funding mechanism aimed at addressing the country's alarming health statistics.
So we believe that anything that supports development is the vaccine, and anything that disrupts development is a disease. And we also know that the first level of care is the primary healthcare center. So many things are happening in the country right now, and for a poor person, at least let them be able to access the basic care. And that's what the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund is, which is a provision from the National Health Act.
First, we can talk about the massive renovation that is going on across the country. If you move around Nigeria, we pretty much can say the primary health centers in Nigeria are renovation sites because a lot of resources have gone into renovating. Beyond that is that we are further equipping these facilities and bringing them to a level that ensures that we will provide the services. A lot of training has happened.
This arrangement that we have through the Health Sector Renewal Investment Initiative, as kicked off by His Excellency President Tinubu, is working. And it's working because of the strong collaboration with all the 36 state governors, our local governments, our development partners, and all actors in the sector to transparently interrogate the issues and work together to solve problems. Because no one level of government will be enough to deal with the critical issues of basic health care for all Nigerians. But by working together, we're beginning to make progress. At least 37 million Nigerians accessed services, 37 million visits to health facilities supported through the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund. That's a landmark achievement.
As these healthcare champions work tirelessly to rebuild and strengthen Nigeria's PHC system, there is growing optimism that the country can achieve its universal health coverage target by 2030.
While primary health care came under scrutiny, Christy Akande examined another critical sector, the tertiary education, with a surge in newly approved universities across the country. Dateline 360 also investigated the criteria for establishing universities, licensing and accreditation standards, quality assurance mechanisms, and the big question is, do these institutions have the capacity of producing graduates that can compete globally? Or is it simply expanding numbers without substance?
For a university to be approved, the NUC considers a list that will be submitted by the people or by the applicant who proposes to establish a university. So first we look at how many professors are you bringing, how many departments.
But the wave of approvals has sparked concerns among education stakeholders. At the heart of the debate, what are the criteria for licensing these universities? And more importantly, can they uphold quality standards and produce graduates who can compete globally?
You say you are a university lecturer, you are not known in the world, nobody knows you, you are not on Google Scholar, they cannot even count you to be anything. Some, even their PhD is questionable, their masters are questionable. Imagine a first degree teaching a first degrees.
Critics warn that the rapid pace of university approvals could outstrip the system's ability to provide adequate infrastructure, qualified personnel, and academic excellence.
The problem that we've got is that once some universities get approval, they now start to open what they call satellite campuses. That is where the abuse is coming from.
According to NUC, a step-by-step process governs the approval and licensing of new universities. The process includes submission of a formal letter of intent, interviews with prospective proprietors, collection and submission of detailed application forms, presentation of relevant supporting documents, including academic briefs, feasibility studies, and master plans. Yet, questions persist. Are there routine or unscheduled monitoring visits to ensure compliance once approval is granted?
When the university is ready, it will invite the commission to go and look at the state of affairs, to look at the infrastructure, to look at the classrooms.
The challenge moving forward lies in balancing expansion with excellence. According to the National Universities Commission, Nigeria has approximately 278 universities in Nigeria. However, efforts are underway to see that graduates are employable and contribute to the country's growth and development. Christiana Akande for Dateline 360.
As 2025 winds down, bear in mind that nation building is not the work of government alone. It is a collective responsibility from all of us. And from all of us at Dateline 360, we thank you for staying with us. See you in 2026. Happy New Year in advance.